In the silent corridors of the Chase Center, something is changing. The sound of balls bouncing in practice, the shouts echoing through empty stands, and the energy hanging in the air suggest a new era may be forming. The Golden State Warriors, a symbol of a dynasty that redefined modern basketball, stand once again at a crossroads. But this time, what is taking shape goes far beyond tactics or contracts. What is at stake is the future of a philosophy, the courage to keep reinventing the impossible. It all began as a discreet rumor, agents talking, executives exchanging looks in closed-door meetings, and veterans whispering behind the league's scenes. The name circulating was not just anyone's, Morant, the guard who blends speed, bounce, and audacity into a spectacle that turns every arena into an electric field. For some, unthinkable. For others, inevitable. A marriage of explosive talent and strategic genius. Picture the scene. Stephen Curry moving in silence, dragging two defenders. Morant receives at the top of the key, slashes inside, the paint opens. A quick pass, the ball whips around, movement in sync. Chaos turned into art. This is what Steve Kerr's system has always sought. Harmony within unpredictability. The fit, in theory, seems absurd, and precisely for that reason, so compelling. Curry represents precision, discipline, vision. Morant embodies energy, instinct, aesthetic brutality. One is poetry, the other is storm. Together, they could create the kind of imbalance defenses fear most, coordinated chaos. The same chaos that helped the Warriors dominate the NBA for nearly a decade. But the plans in San Francisco go beyond star power. The name Sotto is starting to feature prominently on the coaching boards. The Filipino center has been building a solid path in Asia with numbers that reflect far more than potential. Recently, he scored 20 points, grabbed 4 rebounds, and dished 3 assists against Kyoto Hanarez, showing growth in every fundamental. He is not just a tall player. He is mobile, skilled, and above all, mature. Sotto does not play to impress. He plays to add value. In a team that lives on movement and reads, that makes him valuable. His ability to set a screen at the right moment, roll to the rim, and still find the open man would make him a key piece in a system that values intelligence over raw numbers. In Kerr's eyes, he is the type who turns simple actions into sequences of lethal passes, and he would not arrive alone. Rhenz Abando, another rising Filipino talent, is the kind of competitor every winning franchise needs. He defends with intensity, attacks with conviction, and carries an inner fire you cannot teach. He is the sort of athlete who changes a locker room's climate, who makes others remember why they play. The Warriors have always thrived with profiles like that, players who do not need headlines to change the course of a game. The Morant, Sotto, and Abando trio sounds improbable, but there is logic in the improbable. Golden State has always been the team of impossible reinventions, the team that believed in the three-pointer when the world doubted. That bet on the collective when the NBA exalted superstars. That won by prioritizing the mind, not just the body. Now, the proposal is different. Unite generations, styles, and cultures in one uniform. Because this story is not just about signings, it is about global impact. The Filipino community in the Bay Area is one of the most passionate and influential in sports. The arrival of Sotto and Rhenz Abando would create a colossal cultural bridge between the Philippines and California. The result? An army of new fans, record viewership, a wave of emotion crossing oceans. The NBA has never seen anything like it, and the Warriors know the value of staying a step ahead of trends. But the real impact would be on the court. Morant's addition would bring a raw energy that would renew the team's offensive DNA. Curry and Draymond Green would find in him a spark that reignites competitive fire. Unpredictability would return. And with Sotto and Abando, the rotation would gain youth and versatility. Every possession would become a risk for opponents. Every mistake, a sentence. However, boldness always brings doubts. Morant still carries questions off the court. His intense personality has put him in controversial situations, but the environment in Golden State could be the catalyst for an image turnaround. Under Kerr's discipline and Curry's leadership, Morant would have the chance to rebuild not only his reputation, but his legacy. And Sotto? He represents more than height and skill. He represents hope, a symbol that talent can be born anywhere, that the NBA is no longer an exclusive stage, but a global network where merit speaks louder than a passport. For the Warriors, it is more than a gamble. It is an investment in narrative, identity, and future. Abando would complete the cycle. He is the beating heart of the style the franchise has always valued, humility and intensity. Players like him are the invisible cement that holds a group together. When the game gets tight, they are the ones who dive for a loose ball, who shout from the bench, who inspire the team. They remind everyone that winning is also sacrifice. And that is exactly what Golden State needs in this moment of transition, to remember who it is. Not just the team that revolutionized basketball with three-pointers, but the group that proved intelligence and togetherness beat brute force. Opposing defenses would be forced to pick their poison, pack the paint and allow Curry's threes, open the perimeter and deal with Morant's drives, try to contain Sotto and leave Abando open in the corner. No option is good. This is how dynasties survive, by becoming unpredictable again. More than that, this formation would bring a new philosophy, the balance between art and energy. Curry would remain the maestro, but now with a more complete orchestra. Morant would be the violin that throws the opposing system off key. Sotto, the steady rhythm beneath the harmony. Abando, the pulse. And Kerr, the conductor. The result would not be just wins. It would be spectacle. The kind of basketball you do not just watch, you feel. That inspires a new generation of fans and reminds the old guard why they fell in love with the game. The Warriors' story was never about comfort. It was about risk, reinvention, and legacy. And perhaps this is the next logical step. Unite past, present, and future in a single team. Create not only a winning side, but a global symbol of overcoming, diversity, and faith in the impossible. The sound of the ball echoes in the Chase Center. The stands begin to fill. The lights go out. Curry adjusts his wristband. Morant looks at the rim. Sotto raises his hands. Abando takes a deep breath. The new era is about to begin. The stands of the Chase Center tremble, but the real earthquake is happening behind the scenes. Every decision, every call, every secret meeting is a piece of a larger chessboard, a game where the prize is control over the NBA's future. The Warriors' management, led by minds unafraid of the improbable, study the map with surgical coldness. They know dynasties don't die, they just change shape. And now, the rebuild wouldn't come through veterans, but through the union of three opposing forces: pure talent, global vision, and the courage to risk everything again. The first step would be the most delicate, convincing Ja Morant to leave Memphis. He's more than a player to the city. He's identity, hope, and spectacle. But in his path lies a crack, the search for redemption. Morant knows that talent without direction can be lost. And when he looks at Curry, he sees the perfect example of balance between genius and purpose. Playing alongside him wouldn't just be a partnership, it would be a chance to mature, to learn from the man who turned pressure into art. Sources close to the situation claim that Golden State executives are already analyzing possible trade packages. The goal is to craft a proposal that blends technical appeal with financial viability. Morant isn't cheap, but the return would be incalculable. In a league where every team hunts for the next idol, the Warriors aim for something greater, the next symbol, the one who redefines the game, just as Curry did 10 years ago. Meanwhile, Sotto keeps collecting victories in Japan. With each game, his name becomes harder to ignore. His statistics are only part of the story. What impresses most is the serenity with which he handles success. He doesn't chase spotlights, he chases consistency, and that's exactly what makes him different. For a system like the Warriors, based on synchronicity and spatial awareness, he would be an almost natural addition. Picture a simple play. Curry draws the defense at the perimeter, Sotto steps up to set the screen and rolls inside. The defense collapses. Morant slashes in at speed, Abando positions himself in the corner, and within seconds the ball finds the open man. That's pure motion basketball, the same that turned Golden State into living art. And now, with new pieces, the canvas would gain new colors. But none of this would be possible without the mindset that made the franchise legendary. Steve Kerr remains the invisible axis that unites everything. He understands that the real challenge isn't building the best team, but building the right one. He's already proven he can make ordinary players shine, and now he seeks to reignite the fire of an entire generation. In his mind, the fusion of Curry and Morant isn't a risk. It's an evolutionary necessity. From a strategic perspective, the arrival of Sotto and Abando would be a masterstroke. At a time when the NBA seeks to expand its global presence, having two Filipino players in one of the most charismatic franchises on the planet would be both a political and emotional move. The Philippines live and breathe basketball. Seeing their representatives alongside Curry would be a cultural spark. The effect would be immediate. New markets, new narratives, and a new, passionate fan base. But more than that, it would be a symbolic bridge. The idea that talent can emerge anywhere, as long as there's courage to believe in it. The presence of Kai and Rhenz would show that basketball's globalization is no longer a concept, but a tangible reality. And Golden State would be the epicenter of that transformation. Morant would bring creative chaos. Sotto, silent intelligence. Abando, the working heart. And Curry, perfect balance. This combination wouldn't just fill technical gaps, it would redefine the concept of a dynasty. The press, of course, would react intensely. Headlines, debates, analyses. Boldness or madness? Critics would ask. Is Kerr taking too big a risk? Others would say. But it's precisely in those moments that the Warriors shine. When everyone doubts them, that's when they create. When the world expects the predictable, they deliver the impossible. Meanwhile, the fans watch, anxious yet hopeful. With every leaked practice clip, with every locker room rumor, the feeling grows that something monumental is about to happen. Kai Sotto's videos go viral. Morant is back in the headlines, now for positive reasons. And Abando is celebrated as the spark reigniting the collective soul. In the league offices, executives are already recalculating projections. An alliance between Curry and Morant would shift the balance of power in the West. Lakers, Suns, and Nuggets would be forced to rebuild entire defenses. Oklahoma City Thunder, pride of the new generation, would need to mature faster. Even the Mavericks would rethink their structure. Because Golden State's return wouldn't be discreet, it would be seismic. The most intriguing thing is that for the Warriors themselves, this has never been just about basketball. It's about message, about proving that excellence is a continuous process. That tradition isn't a burden, but a platform. That teamwork and collective intelligence can still win in an era dominated by egos. And amid all this, there's an almost spiritual feeling. The idea that the cycle is completing. That the same spirit which turned a team into a dynasty now seeks its next rebirth. Curry knows that time doesn't wait. He feels that every season is a chance to teach, to leave behind something that transcends numbers and trophies. And when he looks at players like Morant, Sotto, and Abando, perhaps he sees the reflection of who he once was. The young man who dared to challenge the impossible. That is the essence of Warrior basketball. Never accept what's already been done. Invent what doesn't yet exist. Imagine the first game of this new era. The arena packed, blue lights shimmering in the stands. The ball goes up. Morant and Curry lock eyes. Sotto positions himself in the paint, firm, composed. Abando fires up on the bench, ready to enter. The first play unfolds in silence, but the impact echoes across the world. A new golden symphony begins to play. And that's how Golden State writes its story. One play at a time, one risk at a time, with unshakable faith in the power of transformation. The game had ended, but no one left the Chase Center. The lights stayed on. It was as if the crowd, hypnotized, still needed a few minutes to understand what they had just witnessed. It wasn't just a victory, it was the prelude to something greater. The basketball played by this new Golden State was a silent manifesto. Chaos can be art, discipline can coexist with instinct, and the impossible remains the favorite ground of the bold. Outside, the streets of San Francisco pulsed with energy. Filipino fans chanted Sotto's name as if he were already a local hero. Children wore shirts with number 11. Young people recreated his moves in the parks, and Philippine flags mixed with those of the Warriors. It wasn't merely a sporting phenomenon. It was a human one, a bridge between cultures, proof that basketball had crossed the line of entertainment and become a universal language. The broadcast numbers broke records. The NBA's global audience soared. In Manila, the game was shown on giant screens across the country. In Los Angeles, bars were packed with fans who had never worn blue and gold before. Golden State was once again at the center of the world's narrative. But this revolution was not built on hype alone. Inside the locker room, what prevailed was discipline. Steve Kerr, with his analytical gaze and calm voice, reminded the team that glory doesn't come from hype, it comes from harmony. He knew the challenge was not only to win, but to turn talent into purpose. Morant absorbed every word, aware that he stood before the greatest opportunity of his career. His eyes, once marked by impulsiveness, now showed focus. Playing alongside Curry required more than skill. It required wisdom. Curry, for his part, had become something beyond a player. He was a mentor, an architect of mindsets. He no longer needed to be the lone hero of decisive nights. Now he was the guide, the one who prepared the ground for others to shine. Beside him, Sotto and Abando were evolving rapidly. The first understood the nuances of every defensive rotation and passing lane. The second was learning to turn energy into strategy. Kerr saw in them the future, not only of the franchise, but of a new generation of athletes who unite technique and soul. Behind the scenes of the league, executive meetings were growing tense. The financial impact of the new Warrior era was beginning to shift the NBA's economic balance. Shirt sales skyrocketed. Social media exploded. Broadcasts across Asia reached audiences greater than even the finals. The league's commissioner saw it clearly. Basketball's globalization had found its symbol. Meanwhile, in Memphis, the echo of Morant's departure still resonated. Some fans felt betrayed, but others understood he needed this new chapter. And when they saw his first performances in blue and gold, something changed. They no longer saw a traitor, but a man seeking redemption, a talent who had learned to tame his own fire. Back in San Francisco, every practice was a choreography of precision and energy. Kerr tested tactical variations bordering on experimental, lineups with no fixed center, offenses based on continuous rotation, and chameleon-like defenses. Sotto adapted easily. His spatial awareness was rare for someone his height. He understood the system, anticipated plays, made the right pass, and that was the highest praise in Warriors culture. Abando, meanwhile, became the invisible engine. His defensive intensity was contagious. When he entered the court, the rhythm changed. Teammates ran harder, shouted louder, believed more. He didn't need stats to be essential. His presence was enough. Kerr told reporters, "Some players make the team win, others make the team believe." Abando was both. And amid all this, the most remarkable thing was the balance among the stars. Curry and Morant shared the spotlight with unlikely fluidity. Instead of ego clashes, there was synergy. The most cerebral guard of the modern era and the most explosive of the current generation had found common ground, respect for the art of the game. Each understood the other's space, and that turned the offense into something almost impossible to defend. Opposing defenses didn't know what to prioritize. If they dropped back, Curry punished from deep. If they pressed up, Morant attacked the rim. If they doubled, Sotto and Abando cut silently, ready to finish. It was as if the system had gained a consciousness of its own, a living organism in constant evolution. The media, once skeptical, began to change its tone. What had seemed a risky bet was becoming a blueprint. The new NBA model, headlines proclaimed. The idea that it was possible to blend experience, youth, and multiculturalism into something sustainable. Inside the locker room, the mood was one of shared purpose. Every player knew what he represented. Morant played for redemption, Sotto for national pride, Abando for honor, Curry for legacy, and Kerr to prove that basketball could still be art. Meanwhile, cameras captured something symbolic. After an epic win, Curry handed the game ball to Sotto. The arena erupted. The gesture was more than a tribute. It was a passing of the torch, a reminder that the future was already here, growing under the golden light of a living legend. The next day, the entire sports world was talking about the Sotto moment. In Manila, crowds flooded the streets. In San Francisco, stores sold out of jerseys bearing the center's name. Golden State had done what seemed impossible, turning talent into a global symbol. But the deeper message lay between the lines. The Warriors had once again proven that dynasties are not born from comfort, but from the courage to change before the world changes for you. And when the sound of the final whistle echoed that night, it felt like something historic had just begun. Not a new cycle, a new era. An era in which basketball ceases to be just a game and becomes a bridge. An era in which greatness is measured not only in rings, but in impact. And above all, an era in which the Golden State Warriors once again showed the world that the impossible is only the starting point. And so, before a lit-up Chase Center and a watching world, the Golden State Warriors closed another night that seemed torn from an impossible script. A team reborn from its own fire, daring to blend generations, styles, and cultures, now inspiring a new age of global basketball. Curry smiles. Morant raises his arms. Sotto and Abando embrace at center court. The crowd roars, as if it understands it's witnessing something greater than sport, the birth of a new symbol. A dynasty not sustained by nostalgia, but by reinvention. And you, the fan who followed every play, every rumor, every emotion, are part of this story too. You are the heartbeat that pulses with every three-pointer, every improbable play. You understand that basketball is not just technique, it is soul, perseverance, and faith. So if you believe the Warriors' future is only beginning, show that you're part of this journey. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you don't miss any chapter of this new blue and gold revolution sweeping the NBA. Because one thing is certain, Golden State doesn't wait for the future. It creates it. And the next shot could be the one that changes everything.